out and that's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. Oof, hey, I gotta flex. I need a Nike bag, give me the check. I need the money and power, respect, but I promise I'm repping the O to the dead. Hey, oof, I told them out of my way. I don't got nothing to say. Now they can't run at my pace. Yeah, they know that we ain't the same. 402, we rap the gang. I told them this ain't a game.
Yo, what's good? It's FinSec with CB83 coming to you for a quick video, man. Wanted to touch base with you guys. As the title states, who's at fault in Miami? And we're going to get right into it. We're going to discuss it. A lot of people, a lot of Miami Dolphins fans, a lot of people in the media are looking for someone to pin the blame to, right? Who's at fault? Everybody. Everybody is at fault in the video. No, I'm just playing. Everybody is at fault, though. And that's a part of having a team and an organization. You got to take the good with the bad, and everybody has a hand in the team's success. A lot of the higher-ups do, a lot of the coaches, a lot of the players, everyone involved with the organization in terms of getting this team to the point where they're successful, right? And what we're going to do is we're just going to break down, and I know people want to blame certain individuals in the fan base, not in the fan base, but in the organization. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at it. And so really, I want to start with Chris Grier, right? And Chris Grier has basically assembled this roster, after he became the head guy, right, about 6 years ago. And at this point, he is kind of settled in the position, and he has the control in terms of player personnel and getting the guys in the building, right? I feel like a GM's job is to basically implement the head coach's plan in terms of the roster he wants to create, right? So I think it's just a matter of getting guys in the building, right? Along with that comes getting guys that are, thrifty, right? You can purchase at a good price, and also getting guys who are reliable, because the best ability is availability, and you need guys who are going to play, right? The injuries are part of the game. They happen, but you do want to get guys who can kind of consistently stay healthy over a period of time. So when we look at Grier and this roster this year, 6 Pro Bowl players, Tua, Tyreek, T-Stead, Mostert, Chubb, and Ramsey, all Pro Bowl players on this roster. I think it's a very well-built roster. I think it's very top-heavy. And we saw that down the stretch. So we saw a team that was just decimated with injuries at the most important positions on the team. And as a result of that, down the stretch, we just couldn't get it done, right? So Grier definitely has to own some of this. He's at fault for it, right? But I do feel like Grier has done a good job of putting a good roster together, right? So I'm not going to give him most of the blame. Everybody's at fault, but he's definitely not getting most of the blame because he got good players in the building, 6 Pro Bowl players, and he's hit. Now, did he miss? Yeah, he missed at times, right? And I think one of his shortcomings this season was, drafting Cam Smith in the second round, and the kid never touches the field. I feel like a season like this, where you have minimal draft picks, I feel like you kind of got to hit on everybody. And not hit, right? But they got to get it on the field, and they got to be contributors, especially when your roster is decimated like that. So Chris Grier gets part of it. Moving on to Stephen Ross, he just cuts checks. I mean, Stephen Ross basically has had an open checkbook. He's paying the coaches. He's paying the coordinators. He's doing what he needs to do. Season ticket prices, stuff like that, that's changing. They could do a better job in terms of fan experience. But Ross has done a fairly good job of just opening up his checkbook and being willing to write the checks to help us out, to help us win games. So not really mad at Ross, right? Now, in terms of Fangio, and I think Fangio did a solid job this year, right? This is his first year with us, with the Miami Dolphins. And in that year, he's trying to basically take players that really don't fit his system and trying to make it work, right? Some of these guys he brought in, some of these guys he didn't, right? So he's not responsible for them. But with the roster that he had, with the amount of players that he had, I thought he did a solid job. Now, there is some blame to go to Fangio in terms of some players like taking a step back and some players not seeing the field. I think Cater Coho took a step back this year. I just saw a more aggressive player last year, somebody who was willing to come downhill and make plays. I don't know if he was making business decisions in terms of his body, but he looked like he took a step back. He just looked a step slow, struggled in the slot, just struggled, covering those crossing routes. So I think, that's one guy. I think on the interior, Christian Wilkins, Zach Seiler did a good job for the most part. Raekwon solid. Our edges were just beat up, right? When Chubbs and Phillips goes down, it's going to be tough on you. And I think he did the best with what he could. I think it took him some time. It took him to about week 8 to get adjusted. But after that, he kind of settled in and, tried to do the best he could with what he had. Now, could the game plans have been better in some games? Yeah, I thought the Ravens' game plan was trash, right? I thought some other games were trash, but there were some other games where he was really good as well, right? But he needs to do a better job of basically locking down good quarterbacks, right? And I think that's a constant with this defense is that we struggled versus good quarterback play all season, right? So he's got to do a better job of sending the pressure or just understanding like when to send the pressure or when to play back and sit back, right? He's just coming into it back as a play caller. He was with Philly last year as a consultant. So it's going to take him some time too, but we need him to be better next year for sure, right? So that's Fangio. Now, I'll save Tua for last. Mike McDaniel, actually, let me go Tua now. Let's go Tua. Tua proved that he could stay healthy, which was great, right? Played a full season for the first time since he's been a Miami Dolphin. I think that's what I was looking forward to the most is just seeing him playing, right? The best ability is availability, so you got to be there, right? So he played the entire season. Continues to improve, right? He was the yards leader for the NFL. The interceptions were definitely too high, right? I think he needs to rein those turnovers in. He needs to bring those down. He needs to work on reading defenses, that's for sure, right? And I think every quarterback is in that position where they're trying to figure out what defenses are giving them, the looks they're giving them, and how they adjust to that, how they make the plays against those defenses. So I think that's an ongoing thing for a lot of young quarterbacks in the NFL. I understand that, right? Now, Tua was limited, right? You can't really do any quarterback sneaks with him. He rarely gets off platform, and he also rarely takes off. And that's something that needs to change in his game. We need to be able to run a quarterback sneak with the guy. Like, point blank, period. If we can't get a yard on 3rd and short or 4th and 1 because we're worried about him hurting himself or getting injured, then he doesn't need to be in there. Point blank, period. And you can't box yourself in as a play caller and say, hey, we can't run quarterback sneaks or we can't do things like that because we're worried about him getting hurt. I think that limits Mike McDaniel and it limits us as an offense, right? Now, Tua's gotten better, right? He continues to get better. I would like to see some legitimate competition brought in for him. And that's what, Grier said. He said his biggest regret during the Tannehill era was not bringing in legitimate competition. So we'll see if he makes that change. We'll see. But Tua's got to get better. He shrinks in the moments. And he's good at times, right? When the offense is operating, when we're running the football, he's a good player. But at times where we're not running the ball well and he has to throw 30 to 40 attempts a game, that's not the best position for Tua. He needs to be below 30 attempts, and we need to be running the football. It's got to be very balanced, so, similar to what you've seen from Stroud and Jordan Love in the playoffs. You've seen great running games assisting those guys, and their attempts being below 25, right? I think that's where Tua needs to be right now in his career, right? As he develops, that may change, but I don't think he's there yet. Just don't think he's there yet. So Tua's going to get part of the blame. The offense is going to get part of the blame. And I think Mike McDaniel is going to have to take the brunt of this. He does, right? Head coaches are responsible for the overall operation of the team. They're responsible for setting the culture for the team, right? Mike McDaniel has fielded a soft football team. People say it's finesse, run around, look cute. It's soft, right? And it's not built to win in the playoffs. It's not built to win down the stretch versus really good teams. And I think that's what the team is lacking. The offensive unit is lacking is the grit. And I think overall the team is lacking the grit, to be completely honest with you. And I think that comes down to Mike McDaniel and the culture he sets. Now, I've said this on multiple platforms that it's very hard to kind of rein guys in after you've already been loose with them, right? So I think Mike McDaniel is going to have to have some tough conversations with the team and really hunker down and focus on being more physical up front. Maybe that means more padded practices, more drills where you're banging on each other, more team drills, more good on good, right? So that's something that needs to happen. So we got to find a way to run the ball. I think Mike McDaniel's biggest fault is he's just not committed to running the football. Why? I have no idea. But I can see that, hey, I wouldn't feel as comfortable running Mostert and A-Chain up in the middle like that, right? We need a bruising back. We need somebody who's a little bit more versatile. I think those guys, Mostert and A-Chain, are not one-trick ponies, but they're typically guys that are getting outside, trying to get the edge, trying to, start a foot race, right? And I think we need a guy in the backfield who's a little bit more versatile. He could do a little bit of everything, right? That's why I wanted a guy like Dalvin Cook or Jonathan Taylor, because I know those guys can go inside, outside. They could do a little bit of everything, screen passes, everything. So he's got to do a better job of that. I want to see more traps, more powers, more counters, running the ball more consistently. In moments where Mike McDaniel had the opportunity to kind of set the tone in the trenches, he chose to go the finesse route and pass the ball, right? And I think teams see that, defenses see that, and they're like, oh, this team, they're not physical, they're not ready, right? And that's what happened down the stretch. He's got to do a better job of just setting the tone. Setting that physical presence, showing teams that, hey, we're gonna run it down your throat. Even in situations where you get heavy boxes, you adding tight ends and fullbacks to the game and saying, or extra offensive lineman and saying, oh, we're still gonna get this yard, right? And that's what I didn't see from him. I think that's what the team was missing, was that physical presence, imposing your will on other teams. But there's so much blame to go around. There is, right? I think Mike McDaniel has to get the brunt of it as the head coach of the football team. I coached for years, and I think it all falls on the head coach. Heavy is the hair that wears the crown. So I think he's got to do a better job of setting the tone and getting a more physical football team on the field at all times, because that's what it's going to take down the stretch. But, hey, like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Hey, do the Miami Dolphins make the changes necessary to go in and win big football games next year?
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I really do hope so. Hey, it's Finn Steak with CB83, and your boy is out. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.